New AEW signings, WWE making massive changes, all in today's video. Timestamps down below. We're kicking things off with Drew McIntyre, WWE. Guys, Jason Powell of ProWrestling.net dropped a report that Drew McIntyre is currently dealing with a lower back issue that's causing some issues for him. And so basically, WWE has come out and they have basically taken him off live events as a precautionary measurement. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this is because one of the biggest things that we have seen since Triple H has taken over creative is the fact that Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns have a new face to deal with, and that face is, of course, Karrion Kross, who made his unexpected return. Now, with Karrion Kross coming to WWE, getting involved with Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre, there is this belief that WWE may want to take the titles off Roman Reigns sooner than later. And if that actually does happen, Karrion Kross winning the WWE Championship, bringing it to Raw, and having Drew McIntyre take the title off of Roman Reigns at Clash at the Castle could be a good way to do it. Now, because Drew McIntyre is injured, I'm really curious to see how WWE goes about this. We know that it's not a serious injury. It doesn't require any surgery or anything like that. But of course, Clash at the Castle is about less than a month away. I want to see what WWE is going to do here. I believe Roman Reigns versus The Rock will be a very big time match that doesn't need a world championship belt. If WWE could figure out a way to put a title on Karrion Kross and a title on Drew McIntyre sooner than later, I think WWE is in a good position. I also want to mention too, it's very important that I bring this up, WWE has done a phenomenal job caring about those mid-card titles ever since Triple H took over creative, and that's fantastic. But the idea that Roman Reigns hardly ever shows up on Raw, it's kind of problematic. And I think WWE needs to make the right call here. On my Twitch channel, if you guys aren't following that, there's a link in the description down below. We actually talked about a couple different ways that WWE could go about this. Now that Drew McIntyre is injured, honestly, what I would do is have a triple threat, 2 out of 3 falls. It's a very unique situation, but I would have one person win the Universal Championship, one person win the WWE Championship. You can basically have Roman Reigns. It might get overbooked. It might be crazy, but you could have Roman Reigns drop both titles. There could be a million ways to book it so it makes sense logically. But Clash at the Castle is now piquing my interest more because I really don't know what to expect, and that is pretty damn sweet. Speaking of WWE changes, one that I'm really interested about is the name changes. So we talked about Angel Garza, who got his name back, and now there are rumors that Doudrop could potentially receive a new name or go back to Piper Niven. We talked about it the other day about T-Bar getting a new character, a new name, maybe even going back to Dominic Dijakovic. Plus, there's also talks of Humberto Carrillo, who might get his last name back. Now, basically, one of the big changes that WWE is expected to make with Triple H is they are going to be less strict on the name change policy, which is a fantastic thing because I think if you see a wrestler go from NXT 2.0 to the main roster, there needs to be a very clean transition, and you can't be changing people's characters. You can't be taking what's working for them and then break it for no reason, which is something that Vince McMahon often did. Shawn Michaels also revealed recently that he wants it to be a little bit more of a seamless transition, a little bit more cohesiveness between WWE's main roster and NXT 2.0. So the idea that Triple H is kind of done with the name changes, I like that. Now, I actually think name changes could be beneficial. I know it's not the most popular opinion. Pete Dunne is awesome, but now that he's Butch, which he's publicly said this is something that he's wanted to do, but now that he's Butch, I feel like there's a little bit more character arc to him. And the best part is it's not like his in-ring ability has gone away. If they choose to bring him back to Pete Dunne, if they choose to keep him as Butch, I don't think it really matters. I thought the name change was fine. However, I want to see this gimmick evolve. I think the Scrappy Doo gimmick is cool, but you got to keep it evolving. And I think Pete Dunne is absolutely perfect for that role. So WWE is making some changes, but they're really just reversing some of the things that Vince McMahon did. And I feel like we're already noticing a better product. I'm not saying it's perfect, but we're noticing a better product, a much more enjoyable product. And I can't remember the last time I truly enjoyed watching 3 hours of WWE Raw, but recently it's been really good because there's always this idea that anything can happen. In WWE, Triple H is not tweeting on Twitter telling you guys, oh, by the way, you're going to want to watch this. There's going to be a huge surprise. Like, you genuinely have to watch it to see what you're going to get, and that's really cool, and I'm glad WWE has made that transition. Triple H, honestly, has been on a roll. If Piper Niven comes back and it's no longer Doudrop, Raquel Rodriguez goes back to Raquel Gonzalez, you know, I'm not going to be mad about these name changes. But I hope WWE going forward, when they do have an NXT call up, they're not breaking these people who are already doing so well. Like, imagine they take Carmelo Hayes and just call him Carmelo. Like, yeah, it can work, but why change it? It's not necessary, you know? WWE lost Harland, and obviously you guys know we've been talking about Harland because he went to AEW, Parker Boudreaux. Now he's under the Trust Busters, Slim J, Arya Daivari, Parker. They're in the Trios tournament. We saw them on Rampage. We know that AEW signed Parker Boudreaux. He has joined the company. And of course, AEW is making these signings again continuously, and I'm not really sure why. One of the biggest things is there's a lot of talent on AEW's television that aren't being used. I'm going to complain about this forever. There's really not a person on the internet who is going to be able to convince me otherwise. I think it's a terrible idea to keep making signings. However, I like Parker Boudreaux, and I think there's a lot of potential with him. My biggest fear is the Trust Busters are going to fall in the same category as the Best Friends, right? The Best Friends aren't winning titles. They're not really doing anything of importance. Yeah, they're on TV, and yeah, they do some cool stuff here and there. That's what I see with the Trust Busters. But now I'm scratching my head even a little bit more because it appears that AEW has signed Anthony Henry. Now, Anthony Henry was in Evolve, then he went to NXT. Now he's in AEW. We've seen him on Dark. We've seen him a little bit here and there. But I don't know exactly what Tony Khan's goal is here with Anthony Henry. And this is why it's a little bit of a scratcher, right? Like, you already have talent not being used. You already have talent who were really big deal signings, and they don't feel like a big deal on your product anymore. And I'm sorry, but we cannot excuse that. If WWE brought back Karrion Kross and didn't put him on TV ever since his return, why would we care about Karrion Kross? And that seems to be one of the biggest issues that I've had with AEW is you're signing people, but for the sake of what? What are you doing with them? What can you show with them? And I think AEW, which is a company that is really, really good at storytelling and really good at presentation and really good at putting on good matches, what am I supposed to expect with Anthony Henry? What have they shown me I should be excited about with them signing Anthony Henry? I think he's a hell of a talent. To be honest with you, I think he could succeed in any company he goes to. But I do question sometimes the signings and the things that AEW does when you have so much inconsistency with other talent. And by the way, I'm not the one who's saying this. Tony Khan recently pointed out that WWE has a much larger roster, and because, you know, they have more TV time, it's a lot more difficult to get everybody on TV within AEW. Fair enough. I'm glad he pointed that out. I'm glad he understands that WWE has more TV time. They can get more people on TV. AEW has less, so therefore they can only showcase less. But why are you still making signings? And I think that's a question we need to get an answer to. It's a very, very interesting situation. But shout out to Anthony Henry. I think he's going to be great in AEW. We'll see what happens. Hopefully they book him well, and we'll see if this is another signing like AQA where, you know, get signed, don't see them. What's going to happen? Let me know what you guys think down below.